Asahina-san covered her eyes with her hands to rub off her tears as she walked shoulder to shoulder with me down the corridor. It was only then that she realized she was leaning against me. She made a sound so cute that I would have loved to record it, and then leaped away while looking up at me, slightly blushing.
Kyon-kun, you can't. If you get too close to me, it'll happen again.
What'll happen again? I shrugged my shoulders and said, Asahina-san, you can go back now. I'll tell Haruhi that the injury on your leg will take 2 days to heal.
But...
Don't worry. Haruhi's the one who's wrong. There's no need for you to feel guilty about it. Asahina-san lowered her head slightly and glanced at me. Her teary-eyed look simply increased her charm further.
Thank you.
As Asahina-san gave me a smile so adorable my legs nearly wobbled, she turned around as though feeling sorry, then finally walked off. Couldn't Haruhi learn from her for once? I have a feeling that look might even suit her. When I returned to the field, the batting practice was still in progress. What surprised me was that the members of the baseball team were now on defense, while Koizumi and Nagato stood outside the field. When Koizumi saw me, he smiled happily.
Oh, you've returned.
What's she up to now?
Just as you see. It seems she wasn't satisfied with our performance, and she's been like that since then.
She was simply incredible. Every ball she hit flew to the direction she intended. The three of us had nothing to do apart from observing Haruhi's astounding strikes. This mentally insane girl finally put down her bat and rubbed off her sweat while looking very satisfied.
She's really amazing. She actually managed 1,000 hits.
What's really amazing is you actually bothered to count. Nagato turned away silently. I decided to follow her. Hey, I made a suggestion to the little girl in her sailor uniform. Could you make it rain on the day of the match? You know, a big one that would force the match to be cancelled?
It is not impossible. However, it is not recommended.
Why not?
Partial data alteration of the environment would result in side effects in the planet's ecosystem.
Side effects? For how long?
A few centuries to 10,000 years.
Now that's a long time. Then we'd better not.
Indeed.
Nagato nodded her head for 5 centimeters, then continued to walk forward without stopping. I turned around and saw Haruhi standing on the pitcher's mound preparing to pitch. 2 days later, Sunday 8 a.m. sharp, we were gathered at the municipal sporting grounds. There were 2 baseball fields adjacent to a track field. The tournament would take 2 weeks to complete. It uses 5-inning games. The semi-finalists were to be decided by tonight, with the semi-finals and finals being held next Sunday. We were the only ones dressed in our school tracksuits, while the other teams were dressed in their standard baseball uniforms. This is a bit off topic, I know, but I'd still like to mention this. This is the first time I've seen Nagato wear anything else besides her school uniform. I later learned that this grass baseball tournament actually had quite the history. This was the 9th installment. It looked like a prestigious tournament. If that's the case, I wish they would have shredded Haruhi's application the moment she handed it in. I may as well mention this. After giving Kunikita and Taniguchi a call, the 2 of them agreed to come right away. Taniguchi's targets were Asahina-san and Nagato, while Kunikita said it would be fun. I'm so glad they're both so simple-minded. The person Asahina-san brought to help was a second-year female upperclassman called Tsuruya. Her hair was as long as Haruhi's before she cut it short. She was an energetic girl, as when she saw me, she said,
So you're Kyon-kun? The crew always talked about you.
For some reason, Asahina-san looked very nervous at this comment. Just what did she say about me? At that moment, the 4th player I brought was now facing off with Haruhi.
Kyon, come over here!
Haruhi dragged me towards the side of the organizer's tent with her incredible strength.
Just what were you thinking? Look at that thing. You're actually gonna let her play baseball?
Just who are you calling a thing? She may be a thing, but she's still my little sister.
She even introduced herself, saying she's in the 5th grade and is 10 years old. She's way too adorable to be your sister. No, wait, that's not the point. It would have been fine if she were playing in the junior baseball league, but this is a baseball tournament for all ages.
I didn't just bring my sister without thinking. This was all a part of my meticulous plan. I thought, why on earth do I want to get up on a Sunday morning just to do some exercise? I never intended that. It was inevitable that things would develop to its current state. If that's the case, it was only natural for me to at least want this tournament, which I had no interest in, to be over as quickly as possible. It would be great if we lost right away and everyone could go home. Even without my sister, with such a ragtag group, we'll definitely lose the first game. since the leader of this team is none other than Suzumiya Haruhi. If we accidentally won, it would create a chain of bothersome events. This is why I had to inject something that would ensure our team's defeat. If I brought an elementary school girl in, we'd lose for sure. There's no way we could win with that. Of course, I couldn't let Haruhi know what I was thinking. I wasn't that insane after all.
Forget it.
Haruhi snorted and turned around. She muttered something about giving them a handicap. Looks like she's hell-bent on winning. Just how does she intend to win this thing? We still haven't decided on fielding positions or batting order yet. What do you have in mind?
I've already thought of that.
Haruhi's face shone with satisfaction as she took out a piece of paper from her tracksuit pocket. I have no idea what criteria she uses to decide who plays where.
I've decided to use this. I'm sure no one will disagree.
There were 2 pieces of paper. Each piece was drawn with 8 lines. It resembled one of those ladder tracing lottery games. Was I seeing things?
What are you talking about? I made this lottery so we could decide batting and fielding positions, but I'm gonna be the pitcher and the first batter, just so you know.
What made you choose this method?
What's with that look of yours? You got a problem with that? This is the most democratic way. Ancient Greek leaders were chosen by ladder tracing as well, you know.
Don't compare the political system of ancient Greece with the selection method of a Japanese baseball team. Besides, you only decide that on your own whim. Just how is this a democracy? Forget it. This way, we can lose quickly. According to the tournament rules, the game would end if the score difference between the 2 teams was more than 10 runs. I think I should prepare to go home now, since our first opponent was the top team with the best defense in the tournament for the past 3 years, the Kamigahara Pirates. They were the baseball team of some nearby university. In a way, they had a tough playing style. They were all very serious, intending to win. We could catch a glimpse of their prowess just by watching their pre-match warm-up. Their screams were so full of power, even their pitching was breathtaking. This was a proper baseball team. We definitely had our work cut out for us. I thought to myself, have we come to the wrong place? At that moment, I really wanted to take a look around to make sure we were actually in the venue for the baseball tournament. While I don't feel that losing is a bad thing, I started to have an urge to escape this impending tragedy. Our team was so crappy that I felt like apologizing to the opposing team. Just when I was about to formulate an escape plan, Haruhi made everyone stand in one row.
Alright, everybody, here's the plan. Everyone follow my instructions.
She sounded just like a coach.
Listen carefully. Our priority is to reach base. Once we reach base, we'll be able to steal a base before the pitcher throws all 3 pitches. Swing at the ball if it's a strike, but ignore it if it's a ball. Simple, isn't it? Just follow my plan and we'll be able to get at least 3 runs per inning.
That was our game plan, according to that crazy brain of Haruhi's. But just what is that confidence based on? It was based on nothing, of course. She's the physical manifestation of baseless confidence. But wouldn't this sort of person usually be called an idiot? Besides, this girl's not just a normal idiot. She is the idiot at the top of the idiot food chain. The queen idiot of the idiot world. Allow me to announce the batting and field positions of the SOS Brigade baseball team, decided by the god of lottery herself. First batter and pitcher, Suzumiya Haruhi. Second batter and right fielder, Asahina Mikuru. Third batter and center fielder, Nagato Yuki. Fourth batter and second baseman, me. Fifth batter and left fielder, my sister. Sixth batter and catcher, Koizumi Itsuki. Seventh batter and first baseman, Kunikida. Eighth batter and third baseman, Tsuruya-san. Ninth batter and shortstop, Taniguchi. That was the lineup of our team. There were no substitutes, managers, or even cheerleaders. After both teams paid their respects to each other, Haruhi went straight to the batter's box, completely forgetting about the existence of helmets. The rest of us had to borrow some second-hand white helmets from the organizing committee. If there were anything that truly belonged to us, then it would have to be the 9 yellow loudspeakers Haruhi brought for us. Haruhi pushed the tip of her helmet upwards and picked up the bat she snatched from the baseball team, then revealed a fearless smile. After the umpire yelled, "Play ball," the opposing pitcher stretched his arm back, preparing to throw his first pitch. Whack! A loud, clear, metallic sound was made, and the white ball flew far off. It went over the head of the center fielder and bounced off the wall. By the time the ball was thrown in field, Haruhi had already made it to second base. I wasn't particularly surprised. This was a piece of cake for Haruhi after all. Asahina-san and Koizumi felt the same as well. As for Nagato, I guess her emotions don't really include being surprised. However, the other members of the team besides us four were all stunned. They looked awestruck at Haruhi, who lifted both arms and gave a V sign. Our opponents were even more dumbfounded.
Their picture's nothing. Just do what I did and you'll be fine.
Unfortunately, what she did had the opposite effect she intended, since this would lead our opponent to cancel the thought of showing mercy on our girls. Our second batter, Asahina-san, wore her wide helmet and walked hesitantly toward the batter's box.
May the best...
Before she could even finish, a high-angled straight ball came shooting over. How dare these bastards do that? If you strike Asahina-san out in 3 strikes, you'll have to face serious consequences. Asahina-san had become as stiff as a Buddha statue, and only looked as the 2 remaining pitches flew past her. When the umpire announced that she was struck out, she breathed a sigh of relief and returned to the bench.
Hey, why aren't you swinging the bat?
Haruhi's complaints didn't matter to me. What was important was that Asahina was safe. Nagato, our third batter, walked silently to the batter's box, dragging the tip of the aluminum bat on the ground. She ignored all the balls being pitched and was struck out very quickly. She then silently returned to the bench, took off her helmet, and handed the bat to the next batter, me. She quietly sat on the bench and reverted to being a decorative doll. Haruhi's yells were becoming annoying. What do you expect? It's Asahina-san and Nagato.
Joan, you gotta hit this. You're the 4th batter, the cleanup hitter.
I really wish you wouldn't put so much hope on the 4th batter you just picked from a lottery. I learned from Nagato and stood in the batter's box silently. I didn't swing at the first pitch. Strike. Now that was scary. That ball was fast. It basically sliced through the air and made a whooshing noise. I had no idea what its speed was, but I'd have to guess it was faster than one could blink. In fact, the moment I felt the pitcher had thrown the ball out, the ball had already landed in the catcher's glove. Did Haruhi actually hit one of these pitches? The second pitch. Whoa! The ball curved. Is this what you would call a curveball? If I had ignored it, it would be a ball, but I still swung at it. And so, it ended with 3 consecutive strikeouts, and both sides had to switch positions.
You idiot!
When our opponents went to the dugout to take a break, Haruhi yelled furiously at the left field and threw her glove on the ground. This was embarrassing. To be precise, our defense had more holes than your typical anthill. The outfield defense was ridiculous. It was perfectly normal for our right fielder Asahina-san and our left fielder, my sister, to not catch any balls at all. This I could tell from our pre-match warm-ups. So when the ball flew to the right field, it had to be retrieved by me, the second baseman. When it flew to the left field, Taniguchi, the shortstop, would have to run for his life to retrieve it. Whenever Asahina-san saw the ball flying towards her, she would kneel down and cover her head with her glove. So don't expect her to do any defending. As for my sister, she would chase the ball happily, but the ball would always land 3 feet from where she was standing, so she wasn't much help either. Nagato, the center fielder, was flawless at catching the ball, but she only reacted to those that flew within her defensive parameters, and her reactions were just dead slow. If a line drive flew past her, our opponent would have scored a run already. Might as well hurry up and lose so we can go home already. That wouldn't be too bad.
Come on, bring it on!
Haruhi walked enthusiastically towards the pitcher's mound. The gloves, shin guards, and chest protector for our catcher Koizumi were all, of course, borrowed. Our opponent's first batter bowed to the organizers, then headed to the batter's box. Haruhi slung her arm and made the first pitch. Strike. It was a very good strike, be it the angle, speed, or control of the ball. The ball landed right in the center of the strike zone. It had so much power that the batter didn't even have a chance to swing his bat. Of course, the SOS Brigade members, including myself, weren't surprised at all by this. If this girl were suddenly called up to the Japanese national soccer team, I don't think anyone would be too shocked at all. Nothing was impossible for Haruhi. It wasn't that simple for the opponent's first batter, though. He couldn't swing his bat for 2 consecutive strikes, and only managed to react to the third pitch, but he still struck out. It seemed like one of those change-up balls that curved slightly when entering the strike zone. It was as predictable as Haruhi's personality. The second batter listened to the suggestions of the first batter, who never managed to hit and tried to bunt. Yet, he hit the ball outside the foul line twice and missed the third pitch completely, so so he was struck out as well. Seeing how the situation was beginning to change, even I was feeling uneasy. Both teams weren't going to drag on like this till the last inning, were they? As expected from their cleanup man, the third batter made a direct hit on Haruhi's powerful fastball. If you keep pitching fastballs, it's only a matter of time before one of them gets hit. The ball flew past Nagato's head, who remained rooted to the spot, and disappeared into the distance. With the look of Medea, who had just been betrayed by Jason, Haruhi looked intently at the third batter, who had just scored a home run. Anyway, we were now 1 run behind as a result. The fourth batter managed a double hit, while the fifth batter took advantage of an error from Kunikita, and our opponents ended up taking first and third. The sixth batter scored a second run by hitting the ball into the right field. The seventh batter hit the ball towards third base. The ball was picked up and quickly thrown home by Tsuruya-san, tagging the runner out. This ended the first inning. At the end of the first inning, the score was 2-0. I never thought we would have fought this valiantly, though it all gave me more of a headache. Just hurry up and let them score 10 runs so we could go home already. At the start of the second inning, our 5th to 7th batters, my sister Koizumi and Kunikita, were all struck out consecutively. We had already entered the second half of the inning before we could even draw a breath. Our opponent seems to have identified the outfield as their main weakness, and it became obvious that they were targeting their balls toward that area. Every time, Taniguchi and I would run frantically toward the outfield trying to catch the ball, where our success rate was about 10%, and we were simply exhausted. Oh well. In order to relieve Asahina-san of her pain, running this much was a small price to pay, since Asahina-san still looked so cute even when she was being scared senseless. And so, our opponent scored 5 runs in this inning alone. Just 3 more runs and it would all be over. We should be able to wrap things up by the next inning, I guess. First half of the third inning, our turn for offense. Tsuruya-san, who tied her long hair behind her head, kept hitting fouls. She seems like a very energetic person, but in the end, she hit a ball that ended up in the catcher's glove. She tapped her helmet with the bat and said,
Sure is hard. Just hitting the ball alone was already tough.
Haruhi frowned and seemed to be in deep thought. Whatever she was thinking, it wasn't going to be good.
Looks like we'll have to use that.
She slowly walked to the umpire and said,
Time out!
She then grabbed Asahina-san, who was sitting obediently with a loudspeaker in her hand by the neck. Haruhi dragged her slim figure behind the bleachers. She and Asahina-san were each carrying large duffel bags. I would soon find out what those bags contained.
Wait! Suzumiya-san! No! Hurry up and take it off! Now put this on!
Here we go again.